Here we are today at the African Festival at the Arts in Chicago, and we're here on Artist Row. Today we're going to have a conversation with
Wycliffe Link Bennett. Everyone calls me Link.
Okay, Link. Okay, thanks for doing this for us, because we think it'll go a long way to giving some insight in what artists do, what artists are about, what's behind the art. As we get started here, could you talk a little bit about where you're from, your growing up, and when did you first get interested in art?
I was born in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica. Came to the United States when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
Lived in New York for any number of years beyond that. I left New York and came down to Atlanta about 12 years ago. As an adult, I became a financial person. I'm a C.P.A, Chief Financial Officer of my company back in the day. But then I left corporate and had to decide what I was going to do with my life. One option was, which I exercised, was to go teach at Morris Brown College.
Okay.
There for 3 years I taught accounting and finance. I enjoyed it. It was good. My corporate career was quite successful, I think. But after Morris Brown had its problems, I had to decide what I was going to do then.
Yeah.
And the choices were go back to corporate or do something else. And actually, when I started teaching, I had an opportunity to spend more time with my art than I had when I was in corporate.
Okay.
When I realized that there was really something in this art thing. And so when Morris Brown went away, I just discussed it with my wife, and I said, look, I want to go be an artist. And her response was, well, if you can find a way to make the bills work, then this will work too. So that's what started me down that road. I mean, during my whole life, art had been a hobby, something I would go to and come away from when I had the time. But the college experience gave me more time and really opened it up. So that's how it began.
Oh, that's interesting. That's quite a change from corporate to the art world.
It is a radical change, but as I tell everyone who will listen, I used to be a very creative accountant.
Oh, well, I'm sure you probably have a lot of clients, too.
Hey, they don't pay you for what you know, they pay you for what you can do with what you know.
Okay. You know, usually, well, I'm assuming that most artists, when they create based on what their experience has been.
Okay.
So give us a little insight into how maybe the first part of your life influences your art growing up in Jamaica.
Well, again, I go back to Jamaica quite frequently.
Okay.
It's my home away from home,
yeah.
And a lot of my material I gather to do my work comes out of Jamaica.
Okay.
But I think that you know, for me, my art is really about allowing people to see the world through my eyes. And so I'm saying, you know, each of us has a vision, each of us sees the world in a different way. And as an artist, I have the fantastic opportunity of saying, hey, this is what I'm seeing.
Right.
This is my world. Right. And I allow people into my world.
I got you. Now, by sharing, you know, your world with an audience and whatnot, is it anything in particular that you're trying to get them to perceive or see?
I'm looking to get them to see what I'm seeing, but also to occupy the same emotional space.
Ah, okay.
So if you look at my work and you're unmoved by it, then I'm not successful. I want people to look at the work and say, oh, yeah, wow, I see this. You know, I've been here, or this reminds me of something or some place where I've been.
Right.
And if I can give you, if the emotional content is there, then it's working for me.
Right. I have this notion that to really be an effective artist, you kind of have to look at your art as literature.
Okay.
You know, it's obviously storytelling.
Yeah.
And as I'm looking at your work here, and we see a lot of three-dimensional type things, almost collage-like in effect.
Yeah.
So, how were you influenced to go in that kind of direction?
I'm self-taught.
Okay.
The last art class I took was in high school. All right. And so everything that you see in my work is a part of an evolution.
Yeah.
And again, the luxury of being a full-time artist means you can take all of your energies and pour it into your work.
Yeah.
And to become a truly creative person, the process really is, everybody is creative, but you have to be able to allow the creativity to express itself.
Right.
And so you can't be afraid. You have to take chances, and when you go out there and lay yourself out there, I mean, you know, the thing about being an artist of any kind, and a visual artist certainly, of course, is what you're saying is you're going into your emotional inner self and exposing it to people, and you're saying to people, here's my inner self. Do you like it? And of course, the risk is people are going to say no.
Yeah.
They'll walk by and ignore you, and that's crushing when it happens.
Yes. Well, I can imagine. Yeah, because you've invested so much of yourself into that piece of work.
And if you don't, my experience has been, if you don't go in that far and take it from there to bring it out, you don't have anything to offer.
Yeah. Now, how open have people been to express how your work is affected?
It varies with the person.
Okay.
I mean, there are people who will walk by and see my art and are unmoved by it, but I figure they would be unmoved by anything. And there are other people who go in and see my work and get stopped in their tracks. And when somebody does that and their mouth opens, they say, and they can't find words. And I said, yes, this is the person who is seeing.
You've done your job at that.
I've done my job.
So
I've done my job.
Basically, you forced them to have, quote, an epiphany. Huh?
Yeah.
Some kind of emotional connection to what you did.
Absolutely. And what's even nicer about it is sometimes when people see my work, they actually see things I didn't place there. And they see it because they're bringing themselves into my work and seeing what I'm going to show them through their eyes.
It's kind of like a Rorschach test.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's wonderful.
Is that something that you're kind of mindful of as you're creating work?
No. I'm not trying to do that.
Right.
What I'm mindful of, and what I often do, is I will hide images within the images.
It's kind of work in some ways. It's kind of ambiguous.
No, it's beyond that. I will literally hide things in the image. And so when somebody looks at my work, I mean, I've had people own my work and come back a few months later and said, I didn't know that was there. And I'm saying, yes, I was waiting for you to find it.
it's like code, and it's discovery.
It's discovery.
And it's
discovery.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
What happens, therefore, is the pieces are alive.
Yes.
Because they're evolving in your mind as you take them in.
Okay.
So,
Right. Now, as you're doing your work, obviously, I can see your work, and I can see references, quote, to quote, an African aesthetic.
Yes, absolutely.
How conscious is that, or are you just mindful of that?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Again, when I've always done art, which I'm about, so it's African in flavor.
Right.
But when I became a full-time artist, a year after I made that choice, I went to Ghana for the second time.
Okay.
And now, you go to Ghana and you see it in one way as a tourist.
Right.
I'm going to Ghana as an artist. And what happened was I realized that the African women took fabrics, clothing, and combined them in ways that Europeans could never begin to imagine. And in ways that I had never seen before, even though I had been there before. And so I'm saying, what is you can do? You can combine these colors and textures and shapes and design. I'm saying, okay. So that informed my work, and I literally took the fabrics that they were wearing into my work and became a fabric artist.
Right. That's really interesting because in a lot of ways, it's kind of like the tradition of creating jazz.
Yep. Okay.
You have this counterpoint between different kind of stimuli and whatnot. Because even in fabric, I'm very interested in textiles in Africa. And of course, there are stories within the textiles.
Of course.
And your ability to mix those with your...
So my inherent Jamaican ancestry, my blackness, now is being taken. I'm taking the fabrics that my people created and the colors and designs and patterns and using them to create art. And it's a joy.
Absolutely, right. It's probably no doubt transforming for you.
Absolutely. I had a philosophy, and the philosophy that I had was that all human beings have what I call a static line of their personality and their being. And when good things happen, you get a high. When bad things happen, you get a low. But you always return to this defined line. Okay. Well, I have relearned that because I am now an artist, my line, which used to be here, is now here, that much higher, because I now cycle around a much happier place.
Exactly.
And that would never have happened had I not decided to do this.
Because it creates a space so you can safely evolve, so to speak. Right. That's interesting. And it was also interesting what you mentioned earlier about your creativity in your former profession. Because I guess that's what it's all kind of about. How do you take what you have in front of you and make something else to, to probe.
Yeah, well, I think all the successful business people or people who are successful in almost any walk of life, creativity is part of how that happens. Because otherwise, if you can't be creative and do something different and bring something different to the table, you're like everybody else, and why should I pay you for it?
Exactly. Exactly. Now, while you're here, I'm looking at one of your sculptures. Now, how would you describe this piece?
Which piece? The one in front of us right here?
The piece right here in front of you. Of course, I think I'll have an image of that.
Okay, yes, you do already. That piece is an evolved piece.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that I started to sculpt seriously 2 years ago. Okay. Before that, I was 2 dimensions. And I did her. She was one of the first pieces I did. But I did it, and it was a really novice approach to doing it.
What is the name of that piece?
It's Kaya as Queen.
Kaya as Queen.
And so I did this piece, and it was okay. In fact, no, let me back off. I thought it was brilliant 2 years ago. All right? And after doing several more pieces of sculpture, I went back to her and said, you just don't work. And I literally decapitated her. I removed her head and created a new head for her.
There's a lot of symbolism in that, isn't there?
Hey. But I mean, because I had grown enough now to realize that this was okay for that, but it's not, it doesn't compare. And so the piece you have now is alive and vibrant and evocative and all those other things. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, in your family, you have any other like families? Ken?
My father was an artist. He was not a visual artist, but he was a very creative human being who worked in theater and the arts. Okay. And in fact, he was a general manager of Jamaica Broadcasting Company, and that was his life. That was his thing. My son's an artist. My daughter's an artist.
Oh, terrific!
So it flows through, and you can't stop it.
It's almost like family heritage. It's the family business.
It's a family business. Yeah.
And you denied it for a while. No?
I tried.
So I'm sure your father's kind of happy about it.
No, he's passed on. But he knows that I'm an artist before he passed on.
Right. And no doubt he still influences you.
Yes, in as much as he gave me the gift.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, look, thanks, Link, for giving me this time and whatnot. I really enjoyed it. You gave us a lot of interesting things to think about.
Alrighty.
And hopefully we can expand on this in some kind of other venues, going forward.
Anytime you like.
And I really wish you well here in your venue here, your commercial venue here at the African Festival of the Arts. And again, thank you on behalf of the festival, and thank you on behalf of our organization, the Yoruba Arts Foundation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, all right, yeah.